piece was missing. Better late than never for you and me.
Welcome everyone to Coachinginsession. My name is Michael Reardon and I'll be your coach this evening. So today we have a special treat. We have an interview with a health coach, Grace Benkovitz, and she's going to be explaining what she does in detail in a little bit, but I want to take some time out before the interview to talk to you about health. And it is so important that we understand that our body is the only body we're going to have. And yeah, we can maybe get a kidney, a liver transplant. Maybe if we lose a leg, we can get a prosthetic leg or arm. But it's not the same. It's not yours. It's not your initial arm, your initial leg, your initial heart. So if we understand that our body is going to need us to be healthy. Our body is going to need us to become more fit, stay in shape more. Because we don't know what's around the corner. Because life is good right now. You get to go to the grocery store. If you need any food. If you're too tired, you can leave your house. And even if you go to the grocery store, you don't even have to go in. You can have them bring the groceries to your car. So a lot of the things we have been grown accustomed to has enabled us to be lazy. And it's not so much that being lazy is a bad thing, but when you're not walking, right? When you're not moving, those tasks that might have seemed so mundane are now gone. So the little bit of walking you would have done is now gone. Think of how many people are locked down still or afraid to go outside because of COVID. How much exercise do these people get? And maybe they say, okay, I'm not going to go to the gym because that's going to be a hot spot. Maybe they say, I'm just going to work out at home. And maybe they do work out at home. But it becomes more difficult when you hold your own self accountable. Because it's going to come a time when you need to hold yourself accountable, but then have someone hold you accountable too. Because the thing about accountability is we can always just say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. It'll get done. Don't worry about it. And that's the way we can say, all right, our accountability is that we will do it, but it will be at a later date. And when it comes to your health, it's now or never. Because when you don't put your health as a priority right now, then it becomes a problem later. And you wonder why your back hurts. You wonder why your joints are hurting. You wonder why you can't walk up the stairs without losing your breath. You used to be able to do it, but times are changing. And it's important to find someone who can help motivate you to be more healthy. And Grace is a wonderful coach who has many methods that you can use to benefit you and your health. And what I do is I focus on mindset more so than anything, because the mindset is the initial point. It's the start. Why have you not gotten in shape? That is a mindset problem. That is a habit problem. At some point, you have a roadblock in your life and you need to get rid of it. I was speaking to a wonderful lady the other day, and she has a roadblock for almost 20 years. 20 years stuck in the same exact spot. It's not a waste of time, But imagine if you got unstuck before 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. What would your life have been after that? Well, I know for a fact it would have been better. And it's not saying we're going to hold regret as the number one fear tool, because that's not the point. We don't want to implement fear in your life. We don't want to say, if you don't get in shape, you're going to have a heart attack. That's not the point. The point is, we want to say, if you're going to choose to live life into your ripe years, why not take priority focus or put priority focus in your health, right? Your health and your wellness. And whether it be mind, how you eat certain foods, dieting, getting rid of certain addictions, habits, alcohol, smoking, they all play a role in your health in the end. Because people think that they have to diet and go on a fad diet to lose weight, or people think that they have to go to the gym every single week. You don't. You just have to get up. So instead of turning on Netflix, go out for a walk. I encourage you, while you're listening to Coaching in Session, go out for a walk. This is the perfect time for a walk. Now, maybe the mosquitoes will be walking with you, so bring your bug spray. But the sun's down, it's cool, and you have a nice walk before you take a shower, go to bed, and you'll be relaxed. So it's two birds, one stone almost. You had a long day at work, and you're going to unwind, not on the sofa, but walking around the block one time. It doesn't have to be crazy. People think that they have to do all these extra things. They have to go do HIIT workouts. They have to do CrossFit. No. Just get up and move. And if you can get up and move to an extent where you're getting in at least 10,000 steps a day, you're going to notice how your body starts to change and morph and becoming more fit. And it's not something you do temporarily. It's not something you do on occasion. Yeah, I understand sometimes it rains. That's why they make umbrellas. That's why they have rain boots. That's why they have rain jackets. People are so quick to come up with an excuse, and they won't figure out a solution. And the same is true with their health. They wish that they had good health. They wish they were in their 20s again. They wish they can run and jump like they used to. But yet they were the same people. The people who decided to let go of themselves, to start eating unhealthy, to start living life waiting for tomorrow. Well, I'm here to tell you that tomorrow doesn't have to be something we wait for, because we should be focusing on right now. We should be focusing on what we can do right now. Because if we can focus on our health, our body, our mind, our progress, our career, we're going to be in such a better place than if we simply waited for another day. Because if you continue to wait, eventually you're going to realize the time is gone. And I don't want you to get to that point where the time is gone, or you're older and you're not able to get out as easily. I want you to be able to get out and move. I want you to be able to get out and have a good time. I want you to get out and live your life, unabated by your health, unabated by your circumstances, and unabated by what other people are telling you not to do. Because there's no limits when it comes to how you should be living your life. And if you want to go out and party and do all this stuff, live, right? Go out, have fun. But then ask yourself, does this make me better? Will this make me better? When I go to the gym Monday through Friday, sometimes I'm not in the mood. Sometimes I say, leg day. I despise leg day. And when I'm doing leg day, it's not so much that it's difficult. It's just that I told myself that leg day sucks, which it does. Squats, deadlifts, leg press, everything. No thanks. But yes, thanks. Because it's a part of my body that I need to take care of. It's something that I may not grow to love, but it's something I do every week. There's no excuse saying, I'm going to skip leg day this week. Because I understand if I had to live life without my legs, would I be happy? And initially, no. The initial mindset or the initial thought will be no. That's my answer. But I will learn to adapt. I would become accustomed to having no legs. And I think that's why people who you see maybe in a wheelchair or on crutches, and they're happy, they're smiling. And though they are limited, though they have this disability, it's not a disability to them. It's not something that limits them. They conquered what was the problem. So if the problem is something I don't like, the only thing I have to do is do it still. And then after I'm done, appreciate that I did it because I understand it's going to help me grow. It's going to produce more good in my life than it is going to produce hurt, disdain, uncomfort. I would rather be uncomfortable for 1 hour than have pains, in my legs because I decided not to work out. And it's the same is true for your whole health and wellness plan, your whole health and wellness routine. Because if you're going to simply eat fast food every day or drink every night or smoke morning, afternoon, and evening, it's going to take a toll. Yes, and there may or may not be consequences. And I hope at this point, when you're listening to this video, that there are no consequences that have taken place. Because people simply don't change because they're like, I'm changing today. Today's a good day to change. The majority of people change because of trauma. And the minority of people change because they realize what they're doing is not healthy and it's a bad habit. And it becomes more real to them because, of course, they realize it might not be the best habit, the best thing to do, but they keep doing it anyway because of addiction or because of habits. So mindset is a habit. Health is a habit. So we need to get in the habit of getting in better habits. And we're going to do that with grace today. We're going to do that by understanding what it is she does and how she can benefit you in your life if you're struggling with an addiction, a habit, and you're looking to get better. It's important to understand that a health coach, a life coach, a nutritional coach, dietitian, trainer, personal trainer, we all play a role in the same team per se. I can work alongside a personal trainer and help your mental health, but the personal trainer is also helping on your mental health. A health and wellness coach is also going to be working on your mental health. And it doesn't take away any work from me because what I do is so focused on what you need. Because if you're having roadblocks that are purely negative, bad habits because of poor habits and a mindset that was developed, whether because of your environment or the situation you're in, that is a mindset problem. That can be changed. But if you have an addiction problem, I've never had an addiction problem. So working with people who have experience in that field, in that realm, worth its weight in gold, because that is where you're going to get all the knowledge, all the information, and that's where success is going to be at a greater height for you to achieve. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. And after the interview, of course, I will close it out. But no, after the interview, of course, the interview will be over. But I will see you again Monday for Coaching in Session again. And of course, we're going to be talking about the blog that's coming out on Monday and then hitting up with another workshop. And you're going to want to not miss this workshop coming up. I said it before and I'll say it again. So without further ado, Grace Benkovitz.
This will be the last call. This will be the last call. 20 minutes, you're done being alone. This will be the last call. 20 minutes, you're done.
Thank you so much, Grace Benkovitz, for coming on Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm excellent, Michael. Thanks for having me.
So if no one knows about you, tell people what you do, who you are, etc.
Well, I have a company called Optimal Health with Grace. And within my company, I offer 3 different types of programs. The first program is I teach wellness classes, and wellness is preventing illness and disease. And I do this through a class called the Foundations of Optimal Health. I have a master's in human nutrition. And when I went to work on my master's, to get my master's, I thought food was everybody's problem. You know, it was the one thing that was going to save everybody. And while I focus a lot on food and I'm a little bit fanatical about it, what I learned is that there's actually 4 foundations of health. Food is just a quarter of what we need to prevent illness and disease. So it's food, exercise, stress management, and sleep. So in these classes, they started out as corporate wellness classes, and now I teach them online as well as still offer them to corporations. But I teach people all of the illnesses and diseases that happen when we don't meet our adequate needs in these 4 areas. And I teach them easy ways to start improving in all 4 areas. In fact, they can actually start improving that day.
And in those 4 areas, would you rank one to be the most important, or would you say they all play an equal part?
I think they all play an absolutely equal part as far as health, as far as personal health. However, I think the 2 areas that people struggle the most and usually are the first 2 to work on are stress management and food. Once you get those two under control, your sleep usually evens out, and then people can, they have the time and they have the energy for their body movement.
What would you do if someone came to you and they said that they were stressed out, they were stress eating, and they just couldn't find a way to stop stress eating? What would be a solution you give them?
Well, so one is we talk about different ways to manage stress. So while I do transcendental meditation, it's not going to be for everybody. It's a little bit expensive to be trained. So it's not something that I would recommend, although I've had profound effects in my life. So we'd figure out a stress management technique that they could start working on immediately. And stress eating, I find, actually has more to do with changing habits than, just stopping doing it. I work them through the process of changing habits, which has a lot to do with mindset as well. It's mostly cognitive to begin with when you want to change habits. It's not actually changing the habit.
What are some things you have implemented in your life to make sure you are a better coach for someone?
Everything that I teach, I do in my life. So I don't say work out, but I move my body.
Right.
Things as easy as parking the furthest in the parking lot, things as easy as taking stairs instead of taking an elevator 2 flights, standing up. As you can see, I'm standing. I stand most of the day. You can actually improve your blood glucose and decrease heart disease just by standing. That's, you have to get used to it, but it can have really profound effects. I mostly help people get traditional foods in their life, but I drink a lot of broths. I drink a lot of fermented foods. I'm not going to say I don't ever have Oreos, because I do. I work to everything be a choice, right? When you're talking about stress eating, I don't eat an Oreo because I have to, because I'm driven to it. I've worked myself out of that. But if there's an Oreo, I can have an Oreo. I don't deprive myself of anything. I don't use willpower. And so basically, I make sure I get adequate sleep every night, because if I don't, I'm going to be stressed out. I meditate daily. I eat what I call real foods, right, which are just plants, meats, nuts, dairy. I do incorporate a lot of traditional foods that are no longer in the American diet into my diet. And I move my body as much as I can. I do things consistently, but nothing I do every single day. So while I might meditate 5 days a week or 6 days a week, I never meditate 7 days a week. I always try to get adequate sleep, but there's times that I can't. So I do the best I can, but I also know how detrimental it's going to be to my next day if I don't.
If you had to tell your clients to look up to someone, who would that person be in their life?
Oh boy, who to look up to? I would say somebody who practices Ayurveda. So it's a traditional Indian science for 5,000 years, Indian as in India. And it's basically just a way to live your life. I'm trying to think of somebody who,
And it doesn't have to be.
That's a hard.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a person so much, but an aspect of a person.
Yeah. So it's doing your everyday life purposeful.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make huge changes. It doesn't have to be this wide sweeping thing. It's taking stock of what you're doing. How I help people is see what they could be doing different, and then just working on it. And when you talked about being consistent earlier, I always tell my clients, because it's always going to happen, it still happens to me, you're going to fall off, right? Sometimes you fall off for a day, sometimes you fall off for a week, sometimes you fall off for a month. With my meditation, I fell off for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's when you're ready, you just get back on, right? It's not beating yourself up. It's not, oh, I'm awful. It's just get back on. Just get back on and go. And that is the normal progression of consistency.
Mhm.
People see people, who meet their goals and they think, oh, they just woke up one day and they changed their life and they never went back. But the thing is that it took them probably years to get to the consistency. And then they also did the cognitive mindset mental process
Mhm.
too. And that it can be lengthy. It doesn't have to be,
Mhm.
but it can be a pretty lengthy process.
Walk through the mindset process a little bit, just initial parts. So, what you do typically with a new client, they're coming in and you want to get their mental in a certain mindset or a certain frequency to be more proficient.
So when you mentioned stress eating before, because that's actually with my personal coaching clients, that's one of the things I do is I help people who cannot, I shouldn't say cannot, they are having a difficulty not going back to the sugar. It's
Mm.
usually sugar.
Yeah.
The first thing is actually not making any physical changes. The first thing is taking stock of every single event or feeling that is associated with eating sugar.
Mm.
And so it doesn't mean you stop eating it, but they have to take stock of all of their triggers. And sometimes it's not even so stress, right? That's an emotion. Sometimes it's not always negative emotions. A lot of times it's when I work with my tobacco cessation participants, sometimes they have quit smoking for years and then they find themselves in a particular social setting where they're having a good time with a particular set of people and they go back, right? So it doesn't always have to be negative. Sometimes it's a happy, good time
Mhm.
with particular people. Also, what's very common with both smoking and food is what I call events, a car, right? People smoke in a car so often that the 100th time they open the car door, they don't even know that they're lighting up a cigarette and they could have had one 5 minutes before,
Yeah.
right? And they don't even know what they're doing because now your subconscious has taken over. So the very first step is just being aware of all of your triggers, not stopping it, not beating yourself up, just becoming aware. And a lot of times people in just 1 week can have already beat some of their triggers just by becoming aware, and it becomes a choice. And there's some triggers that are more deeper ingrained in your subconscious because every time you open a car door and you smoke a cigarette, right, those neuron what am I thinking, the neural, like the I'm missing the word.
Mhm.
But the connection, the neural connection, right? It strengthens
Mhm.
every single time you do an event or have an emotion and you do that habit, it's going to strengthen. So some are stronger than others and they take longer to deconstruct.
Mm, very true. So if you have a bad habit or just a neurological structure that you're trying to rewire, it could take a lot longer or much more than it would for something that was short-lived. So
Yeah.
if someone had a habit of smoking cigarettes for a week, it would be totally different than someone who was smoking cigarettes for a year.
Yes.
So
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. And you break down that subconscious
Mm,
connection until it becomes a choice.
got it.
And then I still tell them you don't have to make the choice not to.
Hmm.
But once it becomes a choice in the future, when you're ready, you're going to easily and happily make the choice not to.
Hmm. So, how do you help people focus on what tomorrow looks like them? What 5 years or 10 years looks like for them? So, we're looking at like they have the option to not smoke or not to stress eat or whatever the case may be. But we're looking at 5, 10, 20, 30 years in the future. Do you do work like that with them, or is it more so right now? Let's focus on right now.
Yeah, I actually, that you bring that up, I've never even thought of it.
Hmm.
It's
No, and
usually, it's
yeah.
people who are ready to make
Hmm.
changes now. They know maybe they used to be a way and now they're a different way and they don't know how to get back, or maybe they were never that way, but always want to be that way. So I do I do work on envisioning,
Hmm.
envision and feel what it's going to feel like, right? That's part of the mindset
Yeah,
and
of
that's
course.
part of, getting in that energy.
Hmm.
But yeah, typically focus on, what you're going to do for the next week or the next 2 weeks in between our sessions.
The future self is something that I like to utilize in my coaching because we have an end goal, we have a purpose, and success coaches, motivational speakers will talk about like the mountain peak, like the top of the mountaintop, right? That's your goal. That's what we're trying to get to. But for me, it's not so much necessarily about talking about the mountain peak because once you get to that top of the mountain peak, there's another mountain peak that's taller than the one you're already on. So it's more so about where do you want to be? How much work are you willing to do? And when it comes to how much work is someone willing to do you find it difficult for people to commit to themselves and to their future?
There are some clients that absolutely fall off after the first week.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Same
so
here.
excited.
Same here, yes.
They're so excited. This is not the norm, but it does happen.
Why do you think
They
that
go, I haven't been able to get them back on the phone to have a
But
conversation.
if you had a guess.
The last client that it happened to, I'm almost positive it was the stress in her life. While we were having our session. So while I've been coaching for the past few years, I gradually improve and improve. And one of the things I do is I always do Zoom face to face. I don't do any more phone. And this client that I'm thinking about, she was doing the Zoom on her phone, and we were on for maybe like an hour and a half. And probably once every 1 or 2 minutes, there was a notification that she was, and this was a Saturday morning.
Right.
And it's like, oh my, like, I don't know if it was text. I'm assuming a lot of it was probably work emails, because we did talk about the work stress and also home stress that she had. But if I had to take a guess, that, yeah, it wasn't that she wanted it and she can do it and she knows she can do it, but it was just a lot on her shoulders at the time.
Mm-hmm. And do you think certain people are built for stress better than some people? Or is it something that everyone can learn?
I think it's definitely something that everyone can learn. So I incorporate a lot of traditional wisdom in Ayurveda into my classes and into my coaching. And one thing is, I don't believe that a human body is meant to take on the burdens of the entire world. And that's what we're doing right now. I know what happened in Afghanistan. I know what's going on in Australia. All of this is, and it's not just what's in my community. It's a lot to take on. And in addition to that, stress, meditation, prayer, quiet time in nature, a slow life, that was something that was taught, to kids as a young age. And it's not just, one culture. It's something that was similar in almost all traditional cultures. Slowing down, going inside, listening, just breathing, that was something that was very important, that it's just not in our society. It is still in some cultures, in some societies. And I think that that's why other countries can have a lower rate of disease than we do.
When you said is something that we're putting the whole world on our shoulders type of thing, right? Like, we're worried about everything that's going on. Is there a reason for that? Like, when did that happen? Did that happen at the inception of the modern world? Did it happen at the inception of the television? Like what's happening where people feel obligated to, I need to pay attention to what's happening on in the world and I need to address it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're taught, right, in social studies in high school, we're supposed to know about current events. We're supposed to know about everything. So we're taught that we're supposed to know all of this. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, with the advent of communication, if I had to write a letter to my relatives in Long Island, I might know when Uncle Stephen dies, right? And what's going on, but that's going to take a month, for them to get my information and for me to get it back. But now all I have to do is turn on my phone and it's all there in my face.
So do you think cell phones, televisions, newspapers all add to stress to people that is unneeded?
I think that they do because sensationalism sells.
Mm.
So it's managing that. I've had to in the past few months, I don't watch the news. I've never watched the news. I have my news sources. I just so I know what's going on and
Of course, yeah.
I can be a a knowledgeable person. But I've never watched the news. But I would follow news on my phone.
Mhm.
And with what's going on with, the vaccines and all of this stuff, I have had to I do not follow any news
Mhm.
at all. And so I've had to really just undo.
Mhm.
I have to just stop for the moment.
When it comes to finding out to be informed, because what I find is people will listen to CNN, ABC, Fox, right? And they gather an opinion from all the data they get. And it's not so much that they're going out and finding out if it's true or false. It's so much as they're being told. And if they're told enough, they're going to say, all right, this is now my truth, this is my belief. And so when they do that, they're going to hold on to it until they're either proven wrong or they find out a different belief or a new belief. So for me, I wrote a blog. It's not out yet, but it's going to be coming out. And it's how to find news, right? How to be informed without being misinformed. And I find that's a lot of the problems that we're dealing with right now, where we have a lot of people who are misinformed. The misinformation is that now they're going out saying, oh, no, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, versus, okay, well, let's not worry about being wrong, but is this beneficial to you and your growth? And that's where people struggle, I find, the most, is that they're getting content that is not beneficial for them, right? For their stress levels, they're finding things that are actually making them more stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Because what media does is, mainstream media at least, it has to have a sense of fear, right? They want
Yeah.
you to keep on watching. They want you to watch the ads and to stay tuned to, for the next segment. And it's not so much that they're evil people or wrong people. It's that's their bread and butter. And
It's a business.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a business and they have to keep their lights on. And for people not to see that and just to hold everything, and they spend their whole waking day watching the news, and then by the end of the day they're so stressed because all the things that are happening in the world, and they don't know what to do. They're just confused. At this point they're like, there's nothing I can do, I feel helpless. and
Yeah.
and that's where I'm going with this, right? So if people feel helpless, what is something you recommend that they start doing?
Well, you always can take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't in a position to have a huge impact on what goes on in the world,
Right.
but you can always take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're we have to depend on ourselves for our health. So we have to look into ourselves, right? The one thing that you can control is your life
Mm-hmm.
and how you respond to things. And one of the best ways to deal with, all of the craziness that goes on in our world is just to go outside.
Mm.
Just be part, especially if you can be around trees, around grass, around running water, be even just to breathe in air, get away from screens, especially people who work on computers all day. Just go out and be part of what we came from. Get that back into your life.
Tell me a little bit about your background in meditation and just mindfulness as a whole.
Okay, so when I took my master's in nutrition, that's when I realized how important stress management was.
Mm.
And I am a person that experiments and informs. So I don't typically recommend anything that I haven't done or I don't do in my own life.
Mhm.
Maybe once in a while, yes, but typically no. So after I graduated with my master's in nutrition, I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to help them improve their health. And so I was trained in what's called TM. It's transcendental meditation. Um, and so what I learned from that, how I meditate, is it's nothing about clearing your mind. I really just have a mantra and I repeat it back and forth for 20 minutes. My mind goes off and into my thoughts, and that happens. And sometimes it happens for 10 minutes. And when I catch myself, I just simply very gently go back to the mantra. So with my meditation, I had really great benefits right away. And something happened in my life and I stopped meditating after, I think it was like 4 months. I knew I just had to, I had just had a baby. She wasn't sleeping. So I just knew I needed it to deal with my life. And so now, since then, I have been very consistent for almost 9 years. Some of the biggest benefits that I have noticed is I don't have anxiety anymore. I always view anxiety as it starts in your gut, right? Anxiety, I don't believe always starts here. It starts with that feeling in your gut and then it goes here. So I don't have that at all. It's completely gone.
So yeah,
And
you're confident.
yes, but I don't even get that gut. The other thing is, yes, I have stress. Everybody has stress. Corporate America 3 years ago to start my own business. Very difficult. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I had to give it a try. But I'm able to easily manage it. I'm able to easily, it doesn't break me down like maybe it had in my past. And then a few years ago, I actually took a mindfulness class, and this was so ridiculous of me, but I took it because I wanted to be able to better serve my clients, because I knew about it, but I had never experienced it. So I went into it thinking, oh, well, I'm a meditator. Like, this isn't really going to do anything to me, but let me see what it's about. And what was it, an 8-week or something like that, 8 or 9 weeks. Oh, wow. And that's how long the class is. It had such a great impact on me. I cried a lot, and since then, I cry a lot more than I had before, but it's because I'm being present, right? Yes. And it's not, and I don't cry all the time. I don't cry every day, but it was just so eye-opening about, even though I meditated, I didn't have the stress, I didn't have the anxiety, I still was like, eating my food, and I'm like, on to the next thing. And I was never just here doing that thing in the present. So I love mindfulness now. I found this online teacher because I was, when I work with clients mostly online. So I found one out of Indiana near where one of my clients lived, and I take his mindfulness classes every chance I can get, because it's just so amazing.
Yeah, it's very empowering to find out how powerful you are, because many people don't realize how much potential they have within them. And just being aware of everything that you do and everything that you can do is empowering. Where, yes, the world is very stressful right now, right? Everything is put on a silver platter on your smartphone for you to view, right? So all the hardships, all the difficulties, challenges, violence, it's there for you to see. And all that negativity is going to weigh down on you. And just to be mindful of what you have, be mindful of the present and the now, and not so much about what's happening on the exterior of you. Just focus on what's around you, what's going on the inside of you. And that's the first step to finding out, all right, what's my purpose? What is my gift, right? What do I want to accomplish in my life? And all of those types of thinking typically stems from being mindful, more mindful. And to get any type of training or any type of workshop that has mindfulness as the center and the core is going to be beneficial. And working with coaches, especially who focus on mindfulness, is going to be an asset for anyone who's working with that coach. So that leads to my next question. Many coaches in the world, right? We have many fitness coaches, many success coaches, career coaches, mindset coaches. What makes you a little bit different, right? What gives you that spice, that kick that people are going to say, oh, I like Grace?
Right. Well, the first thing is, like you just said, is I always incorporate mindset and habit changing into my sessions. So not necessarily always mindfulness, but things can be as easy or as difficult as we decide. And so it's always, helping them understand that. That is really actually with tobacco cessation participants. That's actually one of the things that's most helpful to them. A lot of people at the end of the session, because when I work with, I do corporate tobacco cessation programs, and the participants actually don't have to quit to complete the program. They just have to, go through the program. And at the end of it, most of them say, I went through this so I could lower my health insurance. I never thought that I could actually quit. I thought it was going to be the hardest thing I'd ever have to do. So I didn't even bother trying. But now I think I can actually quit. So because I talk about mindset, and also I show them how to cognitively deconstruct the habit. So they might not be ready to do it at that time because, like I said, they went into it to get a lower health insurance rate, and it's a 6-week program. But just our conversations, and they start to implement it a little, and it's like, wow, I can actually do this. I can make this into a choice, and then I can make it into choosing not to. Another thing that I think makes me different is I gear more towards traditional wisdom in Ayurveda rather than modern science. I do use modern science. I'm on PubMed. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's our government database of all published research. I utilize that a lot. That's always my first go-to. But what I have found with food and with health, there's a lot of science for profit. And science for profit can often come to the conclusion of whatever the entity that's paying that scientist wants them to. So that's why I always check science, right? And I have certain doctors that I always, go to their websites first to find out the scientific information. But I also incorporate it with traditional wisdom, things that humans have done for thousands and thousands of years. It's just in this country, we are no longer doing them, just in the last maybe 100, 150 years. And then lastly, I always give my clients 24/7 access to me. So they can, if they're at the grocery store, they can send me pictures, they can text me. There are times that, because I have coaching clients that can't digest food, and I help them incorporate some very easily and nourishing digestible foods and supplements. And there's times that they're stuck. So we hop on, an extra session. I don't count it towards their session. There are clients that have ended their session and it's been months later, and I get a text or an email and they're like, I'm really struggling. And so we hop on a call together. And yeah, so I think that also makes me different, is they can contact me anytime for the rest of their lives.
Being there and present for your clients is definitely good signs of a coach that you want to have in your corner. And the way I like to view coaching is not someone who's going to be on the opposite side. They're gonna be right next to you, right, the whole way.
Yeah.
So I'm not going against you. I'm there to keep you up. Like if you get knocked down, I'm making sure you don't fall all the way down, right? If you're struggling, I'm there to make sure we can get through that struggle. And just having a coach that's going to be there with you, as you said, 24/7 is so powerful, because you never know when an urge is gonna hit you, or like a negative thought's gonna hit you, or just a moment of weakness, and you say, what, I just need to get this off my chest. I need to be able to communicate. And what's happening in our current society is that people have become so ill-mannered when it comes to being socialized. And COVID-19 didn't help any. If you think about how people were locked inside for a year and a half, they didn't really have much interaction with people. And now that they're getting back out into the world, they are having a hard time being effective communicators and effective participants of society. So working with a coach who's able to work with them on that, and to say, hey, I'm here for you, to remind them that, hey, it's going to be okay, it's powerful. And
Yeah.
Kudos to you for, being able to do that. All in all, though, if someone's on the fence, right, with coaching, right, because people typically are on the fence of seeing a therapist, seeing a dietitian, a trainer, a coach, and they just need a last push. And most of the time, that last push is a trauma. And as much as I hate to say it, that is what brings a lot of my clients to me, is that people have a hardship in their life, some type of trauma, breakup, divorce, doctor's note, right, that they have some type of illness or disease, and they come to me for assistance. It wasn't until that negative type of thought came into their mind or trauma came into their life where they're starting to say, oh, I need to get better before it's too late. How can we get people, or what is some ways, or your opinion on how to get people to be more active in their life, more active to pursue better without getting a doctor's note saying that, they have lung cancer or that they are obese, et cetera, et cetera?
I think showing people how easy it can be. So that's what I try to do on my social media, is show that I'm not fanatical, right? You don't have to be fanatical to be healthy. And that's a perception that people have. And I try to show them that I just live my life. I don't do anything special. I don't buy expensive equipment. I don't buy expensive supplements. I'm not on a regimented, strict diet. And I just live my normal life. So I think at least in my opinion, or how I, do it, is I just show them what I do and show them how easy it is. Like I bake bread, right? I make my own bread. It's 3 ingredients. 3 ingredients. Get back, showing people to get back to the simplicity.
Simple is sometimes better, right?
Yes. Yes.
Great. I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was a wonderful interview. You have some great content. I'm sure the clients who are working with you are going to be getting to where they need to be without any type of hardship, difficulties. It seems like you're a wonderful coach.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. I really, truly appreciate it.